SLI, for connecting me to this wonderful team. So I'm really really happy to be here, um, and I'm looking forward to this talk and actually interacting with all of you more and more. Um, so how many of you have been to Dubai? Any any hands? How many of you have been to Dubai? Are you raising hands or cannot see that? Okay. So the reason I was asking that was we recently visited Dubai in some 2023. Um, and while we were touring Dubai, we went to this place, beautiful place called Palm Jumeirah. Um, and we were on our way to the tour, and um, they showed us a 2-minute video clip of how the Dubai that we see today actually came by. And so they shared that the Dubai Sheikh, um, he was the sole reason why we see Dubai like this today, a bustling business city, right? And the reason for that was this Dubai Sheikh, when he was young, when he was a kid, um, he was taken to beaches by his parents, and there he was building sandcastles. So when he grew up, he wanted to build bigger and bigger castles, and that's what we see, the Dubai that we see today. So the reason I'm sharing that, the reason I'm sharing that little story, anecdotal story, is because my topic today is about synergy-based brain-machine interfaces in human-robot collaboration. So a mouthful, a lot of words. I don't know. There are about just a little over 100 participants in the call. I don't know what your background is, but you give me this about 1 hour, and I'll try to convince you that this research is really, really interesting, and that you can actually find career, a really, really nice career in this research. Okay, all right. I'm actually better in giving in-person talks when I'm actually seeing the audience, interacting with them, asking questions, etc. But the Zoom is also really good because I'm right now in Bangkok and I'm actually talking to you guys, giving this talk. So Zoom is also really, really nice, right? Um, but I'm missing that interaction. So please forgive me for that. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Prabkiran Kaur, for that really beautiful introduction. So I'm going to skip talking about myself and let's get into the research. And also, I'm sorry for the background noise. There's a high-speed tram right behind. This one is actually not right behind hotel. It's a bit far, but you keep hearing that noise. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Um, all right. So let's begin with here. So this is the table of contents. I'm going to start with a little bit of introduction, and then there are three major parts. So one is dimensional reduction and control of hand movements. Second one is using brain to see this dimensionality reduction in control of hand movements, and then we'll close with several applications of these synergies, and I'll share with you in a little bit what these synergies are, and then I'll also share some future research, and I'll end with a lot of pictures and beautiful acknowledgments for all the hardworking students that contributed to this research. Okay, all right. So let's begin with. I am interested, and my lab is interested in answering these two questions: how human brain, which is supposed to be an intelligent controller, right? although we forget our coffee once in a while and all that, but it is supposed to be an intelligent controller. And how it controls human hand. Okay. And human hand, believe it or not, this is still the best available robot in the world. There are lots of robotic hands, there's lots of sensory robotic hands, etc. But I'll tell you hands down, this is probably the best robot available in the world. Okay. Um, when we are performing simple to complex movements, for example, reaching and holding a cell phone, reaching and holding a pencil, or reaching and holding a water bottle, um, or holding a pointer, or typing, or playing musical instruments, right? We're using the same simple hands, same tools, right? And our brain is controlling these hands effortlessly, right? It's so easy for our brain to control these hands effortlessly when we are doing all these simple to complex movements, right? That amazed me, right? And so that's the first question that we want to answer is how human brain is able to control human hand. Okay. And the second is also an obvious question, is how human hand, which is supposed to be a multidimensional sensory motor device, right? How can it provide sensory feedback? So you see this robotic hand, right? This is not just a robotic hand, but it is actually sensory motor, not just motor, but sensory motor. Um, there are about 17,500 sensors right here. Okay. They're all sensing when I'm picking up an object or something, they're all sensing and they're sending all that information back to the brain. And when all those sensors are sending the information back to the brain, this brain, which is again that intelligent controller, is acting as a multi-input, multi-output parallel processing system, and it is able to make sense of all that information. Okay. So these two questions are not only important for roboticists, computer scientists, which is what I am, but they're also important for clinicians, neurologists, neuroscientists, neurosurgeons, neurophysiologists, because they are interested in answering the same questions in disease models. Okay. So answering these key questions is also important for human robot interaction. Okay. Because this, you can think of this as, if you think brain is yourself and hand as robot, this is human robot interaction, right? And let alone when you're interacting with another robot that is sitting next to you, right? So these are the two questions that we're interested in answering. And let's see if I can play this video. Let's see. All right. Dr. Kaur, can you see the video playing on your side?
Yes, definitely, sir. It's playing
Okay.
very well.
Good, thank you. All right. So here we are showing modular prosthetic limb. Okay, so this was developed by Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. They're like 20 minutes from us. And we have used this limb in multiple studies. We have used brain signals to control this robotic limb, etc. But when you're seeing those movements, look how complicated they are. Okay. Honestly, they're very, very simple movements if you think about doing that. But if you have to replicate those same simple movements in robotic hands, it becomes very, very complicated. Okay. Imagine there's a coffee cup right there instead of water bottle. You are thinking 100 times it might spill over. This robotic arm might crush the cup like that, right? So there are a lot of challenges. Okay. All right. So now, in order to answer these two questions, in our lab, we take two approaches. One is a top-down approach. So we are trying to understand neural representations of hand movements. So the way we do that is we record different types of signals. We record EEG, MEG, fMRI, all kinds of brain signals. And we also record EMG, right? So these are different ways to record neural signals when somebody is performing these type of hand movements, right? So that is the top-down approach. And then the bottom-up approach is trying to understand the control mechanisms of hand movement. So in this approach, we are purely connecting different types of kinematic data from different types of hand movements when you're grasping different types of objects. And we are trying to study those movements and try to make sense of, okay, so maybe this movement will inform us about the neurocontrol. Okay. So these are the two approaches we take, top down and bottom up. And then how fascinating my research may be. I'm not going to get any funding. I'm not going to get support for my students if there is no application, right? So there must be serious applications for this type of research. And the first one is in motor control. So we're trying to answer this question: can we improve, impaired motor control in individuals with motor disabilities? For example, people with paralysis. It could be due to stroke or spinal cord injury. Stroke is very common. My mother has stroke paralysis. She passed away August 2023, but she suffered with paralysis for about 10 years. This is kind of my personal passion too, this research topic. That very hand, my mother's right hand, that taught me how to write, how to draw. That same hand, I saw that hand paralyzed for about 10 years. Okay. And I could really see what is the state of the art of physical therapy and rehabilitation. We are developing so many prototype robotic hands, exoskeletons, but there is nothing in the market. Okay. There's very, very few devices that are out there in the market. So there's a big need for this. Okay. And the second question that we're asking is, can we augment motor control in individuals with needs? For example, soldiers who are carrying heavy weights in war zones. Can we help them by by developing some type of exosuits that they can wear, and they could probably lift heavy weights for longer durations of time? Okay. And the second application that we are interested in answering is motor learning. Can we improve neuromotor rehabilitation? That is what exactly I was sharing previously. When my mother had stroke paralysis and we were going through physical therapy and rehabilitation, we saw that, again, many of you probably know this, post stroke, there's only 6 months time, honestly. In that 6 months, you have to do whatever you can, you have to do your best. After that 6 months, whatever you train, your brain is not going to change. Okay, so that 6 months is very, very crucial time for brain to train. Okay, so that's why we are trying to develop some type of mechanisms where you can accelerate motor learning. Okay, can we develop some type of control mechanisms where we can accelerate that type of motor learning? So this is something that our lab is developing as well. Okay, so two questions, two approaches, two applications. This kind of led me to one big answer in my research, in my career, is this one word called synergies. Okay. And the synergies is actually derived from a Greek word called synergos. Okay. And that means working together. Okay. Synergos means working together. And I'm sure you have heard this word synergies multiple times in your life. Synergies between professors and students, synergies between different universities, synergies between different countries. This word is overused and abused. Okay. So you probably have heard this word many times. Okay. But in this context, I'm using the synergies as building blocks of movement. Okay. So, for example, like letters for words. Okay. So, let's say I'm talking to you, I'm talking in sentences. These sentences are composed of words, and words are composed of letters, right? So you put together these letters and you get words and sentences. And exactly like that, right? So if you have access to those letters, you can build all the words, right? So these synergies are also like that. they are shared across several movements. And if you can extract what these alphabets are, you can reuse them and you can recreate several movements. Okay, so that is the very simple explanation. So I'll give you another question, and that is um, of the 26 alphabets in English language, right? Of the 26 alphabets, if you know only 12 of them, if you know only 12 of them, you can cover up to 85 to 90% of all English language words. Only 12. You see that, right? So less than 50% alphabets, but you can cover up to 90% of all English words, 80 to 90% of all English words. So what this means is, for example, if we find these alphabets of movement, okay, and let's say we found two or three alphabets of movement, those two or three alphabets of movement can give back life to somebody, like my mom, for example. Individuals with paralysis due to stroke is most common, sometimes spinal cord injury. Um, you can give back their life. That important these are. Okay. All right. So if you have several movements, we can do dimensionality reduction and find what these alphabets are. Once you find these alphabets, you can use these alphabets and you can recreate these movements. So this is a fascinating concept, and we were one of the groups to work on this. Several groups have already worked on this. Okay, so now I'm not going to bore you with too many equations, but I'm going to show you this one equation that's going to keep recurring in every slide almost. Okay. So what we're trying to do, okay, before even we go to that equation, okay, so think of these alphabets of movement as two-dimensional matrices. Okay. So this synergy one is one alphabet of movement. Okay. So here are joints. Okay. So there are three joints, and that is time. Okay. So time on x-axis and different joints on y-axis. So let's say we had access to these three alphabets, S1, S2, and S3. Okay. If you move them differently in different times, okay, and also if you scale them differently, okay, so you scale them differently, meaning you weigh them differently and you move them in different times. And then if you combine them, you get this movement, right? Now, if you go back and change those times and change those coefficients, you can keep recreating newer and newer movements. Okay. So now that can be expressed as a linear combination of time varying synergies. So S is the synergy, T is the time shift, C is the coefficient that we are multiplying with. Okay. Now we are adding an extra summation. Okay. In the right hand side of the equation, now we are adding an extra summation. On the left side, you see that you can use synergy only once. But on the right side, we added an extra summation that if you wanted to use synergies twice for one movement, you are allowed to do that, right? So that's why this equation, right? Now, you might be wondering, okay, chalo theek hai kya, these are beautiful images, beautiful graphs, but what is the practical application? Why should this inspire you? Why should you be interested in this, right? So way back, this was 14 years back. So we demonstrated and we only got two brain signals from somebody, from a patient. So these brain signals from inside the brain. So the patient had a surgery and the electrodes were put in the brain. So we were taking two brain signals from those electrodes. So, but there are only two signals. But we ended up controlling 10 degrees of freedom robotic hand with that. So, how did we do that? So, there are only two signals, and we are controlling a 10-degree of freedom virtual hand here, but it's a robotic hand. So, two control signals, 10 degrees of freedom. How did we do that? Right? In between is what are these synergies? Each synergy is a set of 10 joints. Okay, and if we are using two synergies like that, we are able to control those two synergies using two brain signals. Right here, we are signals, meaning we use spectral densities. Um, and time
Can
domain. We use those signals. Oh, sorry. Is there any question?
no,
Okay.
sir, you may continue.
Okay, thank you. So we used two signals to control two alphabets, that is two synergies. One is a whole hand grasp synergy, and the other is a um, two finger pinch synergy. We use these two synergies and we were able to control this robotic hand with 10 degrees of freedom. Okay. And we published a paper, we got a patent, and we even got some grants based on this idea. So so the model that we are proposing here, and this is also what got me my NSF Career Award, is and that's also like 6 years back, right? And it's that same equation that you're seeing, right, from the previous slide. We are postulating, and again, this is a hypothesis, right? The hypothesis is that these waveforms, right? So these waveforms of synergies, they come from cerebellum, thalamus, and motor cortical loops. And so we can, as roboticists, computer scientists, as biomedical engineers, we can formulate this cerebellum as a recurrent neural network that is looping through, right? And it is creating these waveforms of synergies. Then, now once you have these synergies, right? Now you have to carefully select them, right? So that selector circuit is basal ganglia. All right. And that basal ganglia can be modeled as a spiking neural network because it is emitting spikes to select these synergies. Okay. So again, this is a computational neuroscience model. We're trying to put some data into it and we're trying to explore if we can get any neural correlates in this model. So you'll see in the slides, you will see some of these components in these slides. Okay. So let's go back to that equation. And so for the first part, let me tell you about hand to brain. Okay. So first we will begin at purely kinematic level. We're going to record different hand movements and see if these movements will inform us anything about the brain. Okay. So again, we're going to start with that same equation. Okay. Now in this equation, let's say you come to our lab and we are recording your movements. We record, let's say, about 100 movements. And from those 100 movements, we will get joint angular velocities. Okay. And so V of t is the only thing that we have. Okay. V of t is the only thing that we have at hand. Now, from that V of t, we have to calculate everything on the right hand side. Okay. Now, that's a challenge, right? We only have V of t, but we have to calculate everything on the right-hand side. Now, how do we do that? Okay. So we split that process into two steps. One of them is first, let's get these S's, let's get these synergies. All right. And then let's worry about the selection of these synergies, that is through C. Okay. So that is the second step. So we broke it down into two steps. Recently, we were exploring other methods where we can do this one shot. Okay. But that's for later. We're still publishing those results, so I cannot reveal them. So the first one is extraction of synergy. So how do we do that? So let's say you come to our lab, we ask you to do different types of hand movements that are replicating activities of daily living and instrumental activities of daily living. These are like basically grasping, using pen or using a pin, using a needle, etc. These type of movements. So once we record all these movements, all right, then what we're going to do is use dimensionality reduction method called principal component analysis. Now this method is about 65 years old method, nothing new. Okay. So you don't need fancy deep learning AI methods if you can do it with simple methods. Okay. All right. So we used principal component analysis on those movements and we got synergies that look like this. Okay. Now each synergy, so this is synergy one. If you look at in the postural space, this is what it looks like. Okay. Now if you look at it, I don't know if you can clearly see this on your side, but the first synergy is whole hand grasp, okay? And the fifth synergy is two finger pinch. And fourth synergy is cylinder grasp. So these alphabets, they actually have meaning. Okay. They can actually tell us what is hidden behind these. Okay. All right. Now, once we have these synergies, how do we select them, combine them, and create movements? Right. So that is the next question. So for that, let's say this is the movement that you want to reconstruct. Okay. I'm going to reorder that as a vector. Okay. And then I'm going to get all the synergies that we derived previous slide. All those synergies are lined up. Okay. And even the shifted versions, they're lined up. And then they're being multiplied by these coefficients. Okay. Now, this is in y is equal to ax format. And this, we have been seeing this equation from high school, right? Y is equal to ax, okay? Right hand side, left hand side. We're going to put some constraints. So, of course, we're trying to minimize the difference between the right hand side and left hand side. So that is reconstruction. But we are putting one condition. And that condition is that we're going to minimize L1 norm. Okay, so what is L1 norm? It is the sum of the elements in X vector. Okay, the reason why we're doing that is we're trying to get a sparse solution. Okay, the reason why we're doing that again is if your brain is selective. Okay, if your brain is selective, it will say, I'm going to use this synergy, and this synergy. Done. Okay. But if your brain is not intelligent and not selective, then it will use this synergy 100 times, this synergy 50 times, this synergy 25 times. It'll be all over the place. If the brain is intelligent, it will be very, very selective. That is why, in order to replicate that, we said we're going to put this constraint L1 norm and let's make it very, very selective. Okay. Now, once we do that, we do see that in this plot, if you can see synergy one, synergy two, synergy 3, and maybe synergy 4 a little bit. These are the only synergies that were used to do this reconstruction. Okay. And as you can see, the reconstruction is very, very good. Red is reconstruction, black is the recorded signal. And this is the graphical visualization of that task. And you can see that we were able to achieve that using a sparse selection of synergies, right? Now, like I said, principal component analysis, this is like a 65-year-old method, right? When I was studying in University of Pittsburgh doing my PhD, I went to library to check out if there are any books about principal component analysis, and I saw a master's thesis that was done in 1960s using principal component analysis and factor analysis. Okay. So this method is not at all new. Okay. And this is a linear dimensionality reduction method. Okay. So we thought that if you use non-linear dimensionality reduction method, it might be able to capture the alphabets better. Okay. So we started exploring some non-linear dimensionality reduction methods. And this work was done by my first PhD student, Rajeshri Patel, in the picture, and she did amazing work, and she showed us that even after taking these non-linear dimensional reduction methods into picture, still PCA was doing really, really good. Okay, so we got stuck to PCA because PCA is delivering even after so many new methods. Some of these are global dimensional reduction methods, some of these are local dimensional reduction methods. Still, PCA was totally dominating. A simple linear method was able to give us very, very effective results. Okay. So we continued using that. We also started using independent component analysis, ICA. This method is also about 40 years old method, okay? But there are variations of these methods. New scientists are proposing new variations of these methods. That's what we started using, okay? So far you saw that you come to our lab, you do some movements, we take all that kinematics, and then we extract alphabets of movement, right? So far, that's what we have done, okay? So, and then what we started doing was, let's say when you did that task, we were not only recording your hand movements, but we were also recording your muscle signals, EMG signals. Okay. Can we combine both of them and then extract alphabets? Will that help? Okay, that was the question that we're trying to answer. Okay, and that we did using PCA as well as what is called RICA, Reconstruction ICA. This is available in MATLAB for those of you who are interested. And then we saw that when we actually fuse the data, EMG and kinematics data, and then we derived alphabets, that actually improves your reconstruction. And these are the synergies that we got from that work and actually improved the reconstruction of grasp kinematics. Okay. And then so far in our tasks, in our experiments, we were only considering kinematics, meaning movements. Okay. So when you reach and grasp, of course, these are movements, but it is not just movements. It is not just kinematics. There's also dynamics involved, right? When you are reaching and grasping something, you have different contact pressures that you are applying. When you're reaching a pencil, you have different contact pressures that you're applying, right? So we wanted to study dynamical forces and dynamical synergies in hand prehension. Okay, when hand is reaching and grasping, what are these dynamics involved? And will these dynamics have alphabets in them? Will these dynamics have synergies in them? So that was the question that we're trying to answer. So we use this very cool glove called Grip Glove from TechScan. And so this has sensors like this, what you see. Okay. And when you perform a task of holding different objects, this is what you get from this glove. Okay. It has different grasp patterns, and this is what you get. Okay. Now, once you get these types of patterns for different objects, you could again use dimensional reduction method. We used PCA here, and we were able to see that there are these synergies observed across subjects. Okay, so there are a couple of subjects that were different. Okay, but most of the subjects, they had shared patterns among these synergies, and this work was done by my third PhD student, Dingy Pei. She graduated a couple of years back, actually. Okay, so and then this is really, really fascinating work. This just got published in Nature Scientific Reports. Um, and so this work, I have to tell a little story about this work. So 2023 December, um, very close to you guys is IIT Mandi, right? In Himachal Pradesh. So, but we still fly to Chandigarh to go to IIT Mandi. So 2023 December, we were invited for a focus group, and I was asked how we can take Indian knowledge systems and see if we can give something to the world. Can we use Indian knowledge systems and can we give something to the world? So this was the question that they were asking. And during that time, I was developing neurotechnologies for mental health. So the reason this is important is, I don't know how many of you know this. If you compare English medicine, allopathy versus Ayurveda, psychiatry, especially this field of psychiatry, is very, very advanced in Ayurveda. In Indian knowledge systems, psychiatry is very, very advanced. The type of detail they have in terms of different types of stress, different triggers of stress, the type of detail that they have, you can never find that in Western medicine. Okay. So really, really very, very advanced. So I was using some of those concepts in developing neurotechnologies for mental health. Okay. So that's what I wanted to give them. But then they asked me, now your research is in hand robotics, um, hand alphabets. Can you do something in this domain? So this is what they asked me. And then I was like, well, how can I do anything using Indian knowledge systems? Then one of the Indian knowledge systems is our dance forms, okay? Indian classical dance. So in so far in our studies, you have observed that we always ask our subjects to do activities of daily living. So there are different grasping different objects. These are like activities that we do daily life, right? But then we thought, you know how, for example, Hema Malini or South actress Shobhana, these are trained classical dancers and they age very gracefully, right? Hema Malini is now in her 70s, but she doesn't look like that, right? So dancers age very gracefully. Why is that? Because they have trained themselves like that, right? So in this study, what we were doing was we were trying to extract alphabets of movement from Bharatanatyam mudras of hand. Okay. The reason why we are doing that is, say, for example, I study people when they're walking, and suddenly I study Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan, Air Jordan, right? Nike Jordan. This guy, he will fly in the air, he will fly in different directions and get to the basket, right? So if we were to study him, we will know about superhuman movements, right? That is exactly what we are trying with these mudras, okay? These mudras are kind of like superhuman movements. We wanted to extract alphabets of movement from these dance mudras. The reason why we were doing that was we were trying to extract alphabets from these mudras and we're trying to see if there is any therapeutic value behind these alphabets, because we could use these alphabets for stroke and spinal cord injury, occupational therapy, physical therapy, rehabilitation. And so in this study, what we did, we put these alphabets into this robot Mitra. I'm going to show that in some videos of that in the later slides. Um, and we were able to replicate these movements, these alphabets of movement in these robots, in these humanoid robots. Okay. And that Mitra is actually from Bangalore. This is one of my students. He's a CEO of this robot company Mitra. Okay. All right. So we'll come to that later. Okay. So that is the first part of the talk. That is from hand to brain. Okay. And second part of the talk is about brain to hand. Okay. So we're going to keep looking at the brain signals and see if there are any representations of these brain signals, um, uh, of these alphabets in the brain signals. Okay. So neural decoding of synergy based hand movements. We were not the first ones to do this. There are several studies dating back to 2006 who have already seen that these alphabets of movement, they have representations in our brain activities. Okay. So again, we took that same equation, but now we are working with a modality called electroencephalography or EEG. Many of you probably know this, right? So this is very safe to use. These electrodes are sitting on the scalp, but again, they're not inside the brain. They're outside the brain and they're recording activities happening inside the brain. So this method has limitations. It has very low spatial resolution and it is kind of like an indirect approach, right? So what we did here was we simplified this equation. Of course, we cannot solve all that equation given the limitations of the brain signals that we have. So in this case, what we did, we got rid of this extra summation, we got rid of these shifts, and we simplified that equation. We wanted to see if these C's can be obtained from EEG signals and if these S's that we have from behavioral tasks can be integrated and if we can reconstruct the movement. Okay. So this work was done by Brajashri and Dingy, who I introduced earlier. Okay. So we collected hand movements, we collected brain activities. We trained a very, very simple multivariate linear regression model, and we were able to do some reconstructions. Okay. So when we look at reconstructions, now here I'm showing three signals, okay? In each graph, you're seeing three signals. The first one is recorded movement, okay? Whatever we record from sensory gloves or etc. And the second in red is the synergy reconstruction. So this is purely behavioral, no brain signals involved. And the third one is neural decoded. Now, when you see all these movements, they overlap very, very tightly. So, of course, we got 90% accuracies. And because we are in this low resolution type of EEG signal, we used broadband frequency range, 1 to 45 hertz range, in order to get solid signals that we could use to reconstruct these movements. Okay. And we also, in another study, what we tried, there were 10 subjects. From 5 subjects, we got synergies. And from the other 5 subjects, we used these synergies and their brain signals. Even then, we were able to get really, really good results, and we were able to get about 95% accuracy to reconstruct these movements. Again, these are limited study in only 5 subjects because we had to split the population, right? And then is the holy grail, that is motor imagery. Okay, if you imagine movements, can we decode them, right? If we are using EEG, again, it is a very limited technology in the sense that the sensors are sitting outside, the activity is happening inside. Okay, so a very famous example is, let's say, Virat Kohli is playing in a cricket stadium. Okay. Um, and you are not inside the stadium, you are outside the stadium. Okay. You will only hear people scream when Virat Kohli hits a six or a four, right? But then in between, he's playing some really, really nice shots, like defending the bowlers. Okay. He's playing genius cricket. But crowd is not cheering for all that. When you hit a four or a six, the crowd is cheering, right? So that is like that for EEG, right? So whatever is happening inside the brain, only really, really prominent activities will come outside the brain, and everything else stays within the brain, right? So we are limited by the modality. That's why we took about 40 to 50 trials, 40 to 50 trials for each task. So that's what we have to do. Okay. All right. Once you have done that multi-trial, we do see that we get very decent accuracies, and these are the synergies that we use in the study. Um, sorry. And we were able to get accuracies up to 80s and 90s. There was one subject who got 64. It's definitely an outlier. But we were able to get accuracies up to 90s in these motor execution and motor imagery. Okay. Now, because I talked a lot about limitations of this modality called EEG, electroencephalography, um, we are trying to move away from sensor domain, and we're trying to move into source domain. So sensors are here, sources are inside. Can we use some type of source localization methods and see if we can extract the original sources that are possible for creating these activities at the outside level? So this is what we are exploring. We published a couple of papers in this domain. This work is led by Sina, my fifth PhD student, who is currently doing this work. Okay, so that ends the second part of my work. Okay, my presentation, and then now let's jump into applications of synergy. So you saw the behavior, right? Hand to brain, you saw the behavior, and then from brain to hand, you saw the brain, right? So you saw both aspects of it. Now let us take some practical applications of these synergies, right? How can we use them in practice? So one of the first applications was demonstrated by my second PhD student, Marty Burns, and what he demonstrated was very, very interesting. He developed this 10 degree of freedom soft cable-driven hand exoskeleton, and a microcontroller, Arduino, was driving the motors of this exoskeleton, and in that controller, we could program synergies. So this is a way of imposing a low dimensional control method over a high dimensional system. So we are trying to see if we can put 3 synergies to control 10 degrees of freedom exoskeleton. Okay. All right. So how did we do this? So let me see if I can play this video. And I'm going to fast forward this video. So here are six EMG, electromyography or muscle signals we are taking. We are feeding it into a very simple, okay? Oh, sorry. Very simple neural network, okay? This is not even any deep learning neural network. This was very simple neural network. And we are controlling, oh, let's go back just a bit. We are controlling three synergies, okay? And those three synergies are one, two, and three, okay? So we are controlling those three synergies and we are able to train people in using muscle signals in controlling these synergies, which are in turn controlling the exoskeleton, okay? So they quickly learn, okay? It's not really difficult. They quickly learn to use these synergies or combinations of these. That's the key part, right? Combinations of these synergies, and they're able to demonstrate synergy-based control of hand exoskeleton in grasping and picking up different objects. Okay. All right. So that was the first application. The second one, as I was asking, is post-stroke, there is only 6 months, very limited time. How can we train somebody faster and accurate? How can we do that? Okay. So we did a very preliminary study where we had um, three groups of people. One was trained on task repetition. So if you were any motor vehicle accident or if you know anybody who is getting physical therapy, that is what they do there. So you're repeating an action, right? This is what they do in physical therapy. Okay. So let's say you injured your back, they will let you do abdominal exercises or spine bending and erecting exercises, etc. Okay. So you just repeat the task. All right. So, in contrast to that, we wanted to see if we can teach people alphabets of movements. Okay. So, that was the second group, synergy repetition. So, we are trying to train people on alphabets of movements. And the third was a control group that did not receive any training at all. Okay. Now, when we compared the performance of these three groups, we were able to see that people who were trained on alphabets of movement, when we get to testing, they perform better. Okay, because there is transference of skills, there is learning. Okay, they're learning alphabets and they can learn new movements with those alphabet training. Okay, so it's a very important part of my research. Okay, and we also extended this work to arm movements. So this is my student Habib Ali from IIT Hyderabad. He is the CEO of this company beable.com, and they manufacture these robots for um, stroke rehabilitation. Okay. And we worked with Manipal faculty for this research. So we even extended our work to arm synergies. Okay. And then is motor learning using synergy. So how can we teach people alphabets of movement? So we'll have to somehow put them in some type of virtual reality environment and show that, hey, this is the movement that you have to learn. Okay, so they see that, they follow that, and they learn how to enact that movement. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick example. Actually, let me see if there's a. Yeah. So here, one of my students is demonstrating using an optical motion tracker. It's very cheap. You can get it on Amazon. Low cost is also one of our criteria. We wanted to keep it really simple. Okay. You can use those optical sensors. Okay. Record your hand movements and try to trace the alphabets that we're showing on the screen. So this can help for people with partial paralysis. But what about complete paralysis? Then they can use that hand exoskeleton and that will let them move a little bit. Okay. So then the next application that we're going to talk about is biomimetic learning in human robot interaction. Okay. So far, if you have to teach robot how to make new movements, one of the standard ways in robotics is to do imitation learning. So you go in front of a robot, you do these types of movements. Parthan is trying to show that. My student, he is is showing that if you do these types of movements, the robot can see what you're doing and learn from you. This is by imitation. Okay. So this is the industry standard way to learn movements. So what we are trying to pitch is something different. Can we teach alphabets of movements to these robots? And can these robots use those alphabets of movements to recreate hundreds of movements? If you imitate, they can only learn that movement. But if you teach alphabets, they can speak the whole language by themselves. Okay. This was work done by my PhD student. This is my fourth PhD student, Farshad Safavi, who has also done good work in this. Okay. All right. The next application is emotion recognition in human robot interaction. So, for example, in this video, you will see that these are called collaborative robots or cobots. Now, you're going to see that in the next 10 years, airports have robots, hospitals have robots, our offices will also have robots. Last year, Stanford, Harvard, they tried humanoid robot professors teaching students. Okay. So if you want to control this robot, you can tell the robot to come closer to you or to move away from you. So by using gesture control, you can tell the robot to come closer or move away, right? But imagine you are stressed out. I mean, look at today, right? You had a whole day busy schedule, right? And now you're listening to me for 1.5 hour, right? At the end of the day, right? I'm so sorry that I'm putting you through this, right? So let's say you are very, very stressed out and you're very drowsy and you're like that. And then there is this robotic arm coming towards you and it is holding a very hazardous chemical. Okay. Now imagine that. Okay. So if the robot knows that you're stressed out, you're drowsy, it will stay away from you. Okay. So this is what we demonstrated in this study is we were doing this facial emotion recognition. And this is my student Farshad Safavi. He worked with me for 4 years, but I could never tell what are his emotions from his facial expressions. मैं कभी समझ नहीं पाया मैं 4 साल मैंने इसके साथ काम किया लेकिन I could never understand what his facial expressions are for. Okay. This is a very funny video for me. Good memory. So here, what we're demonstrating is that if he is happy, this robotic arm moves faster and comes towards the task space. But if he is sad or negative emotions, the robot goes back to its reset state. Okay. So here we were using emotions, human emotions, to control robots. Okay. Now, facial emotion recognition is only 60 to 70% accurate. The reason is because we are very good at hiding our emotions. We are very, very good at hiding our emotions. Okay. But if you use signals like EEG, your brain signals, or EOG, electrooculogram, sometimes if you're cheating, you are blinking your eyes a lot. Okay. Or galvanic skin response. If you're stressed out, your body starts to emit high temperatures and you will be sweating. Okay. So if we use all these sensors, neurophysiological sensors, your accuracy might go up, was our hope. And exactly like that, when we added these neurophysiological signals, our accuracies went up and we were hitting 90s. Okay. So that is one example. The other example is again, you could use your brain signals simply to control robots. And here we're decoding from somebody's brain signals using P300 speller, up, down, left, or right. We could clearly see different types of control, and we were using that to control this robotic arm, right? So D is for down, and you can see that robotic arm goes down. Yep. Okay. All right. So something recently that got added to our research is this NUMA, and the reason why this started coming into our lab is because of this research. Okay, so we were recording human emotions, and we were recording human emotions, and we were trying to see that. emotions, understanding emotions are really, really important. And then was this uh, disease, so-called disease called substance use disorder. Okay. I didn't put that green line on the slides. Where did that come from? All right.
Sir, it's
Uh,
because of Zoom. Actually, somebody may not be putting it intentionally, but while maybe using their phone, so they are touching their phone, so that way they are getting these lines. So uh, it is unintentional and just because of Zoom. Nothing to worry, sir.
okay. All right. Thank you. And that disappeared again. All right. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, our main host, Dr. Vipul Sharma, is doing the task.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Ji. Thank you so much. Um,
Okay.
All right. And then we actually started developing neurotechnologies to understand different emotional states for substance use disorder. See, we are all stressed out, right? Stressed out by the exam, stressed out by work, stressed out by just life, traffic, and lots of issues stress us, right? If you're stressed out, what do you do? Some people listen to music, some people work out, some people go for a jog, some people just take nature walks. But for some people, it is drugs. Okay. Um, but these drugs are very, very harmful and they make irreversible changes, permanent damage to your brain. Okay. And the place I come from in the US is Baltimore, and that city is called drug capital of the US. Okay. There's a lot of communities where these drugs are rampant. Okay. So we wanted to develop some technologies that can help people to address this problem of substance use disorder. Okay. And so we developed this pipeline and this technology where our device will detect stress, mild, moderate, and severe different stress levels, and it will offer different types of interventions, cognitive behavioral therapy, neurofeedback, neurostimulation, and help the clinicians in addressing this problem. So this is of national interest, and we got a lot of grants, a lot of awards, and we are working through the system. This is a new addition to our lab, okay? And there are some preliminary results. And this is the last application that I'm going to talk about. This is cyber human systems for mental health. Can we use dance as a domain for neurorehabilitation? Okay, so we started using that with some humanoid robots, and so you have brain signals that you are recording from you, and we're trying to use those brain signals to send to the robot and communicate with the robot. Okay, this is a lot of applications in schizophrenia, major depression disorder, a lot of mental health has a need for this type of technologies. So we use Google Media Pipe, and this is one of my colleagues who is testing this. You see that we are able to track his movements and we are able to put those movements onto the avatar, right? So if we are doing that to the avatar, we can also do that to a robot, okay? So that was just a demonstration video. And so based on that, we developed something called Shivam. And Shivam is actually named after Lord Shiva, who is known for dance, right? So Shivam is, and that is an abbreviation. It stands for Synergy-Based Intuitive Virtual Augmented Therapy for Mental Health. Okay, so we actually demonstrated this in our Brain Center annual meeting that happened in June this year. There were two dancers, and let me see if I can show you some video clips of them. This is the video clip where we were tracking their movements. Okay, you see when the two dancers are moving, we are able to track their movements, and they're being projected on the screen, right? And just for the sake of time, I'm gonna skip that. But here we are able to track the dancers' movements. And this dancer is wearing a brain cap. This dancer, oh, you're not able to see my, let me see that. Okay, this dancer is wearing a brain cap. This dancer is trying to be a robot, okay, because we didn't have our humanoid robot ready by then. So that's why she is behaving like a robot. All right. And in this video, we are purely tracking their movements. You can clearly see that the avatars are moving according to the way they are moving. Okay. And in the second video, and this is the video where we demonstrated that we can record their brain signals. So if the dancer is happy, how are the brain signals? And we're able to show different activities, brain activities on the screen. All right, and so we just got our humanoid robot, and so this is a work in progress. Where again, you see that this is my student who's wearing a brain cap and head-mounted displays. So in this video, you see that even avatar is waving their hands, so it is a three-way communication there. We're developing these cyberhuman systems that can help in issues with mental health. All right. So those are the applications towards the future research. We're going to be developing, again, a lot of devices in motor control and motor learning, different paradigms in rehabilitation, and we're also developing these cyber physical systems for mental health. All right. And so I'll take this opportunity to also share about our brain center. If you want to get to our center, you can simply type nsfbrain.org. I don't know if you're able to see this, nsfbrain.org, and you can easily get to that site. Um, this is a multi-center, multi-site center where we have international sites from Mexico, Spain, as well participating in this center. UMBC is one of the sites, and I am the director for that site. And so the main vision of the brain is to commercialize the technologies, take the technologies from lab to market sooner. Okay, we might be developing these fancy technologies, but how do we take them to people who need them immediately? That is one of the core missions of this brain. The second one is how do we train our students into these future technologies? Okay, so we have a lot of training grants. We have trained lots of high school students, undergraduate students, and graduate, of course, MS and PhD students in these technologies. These are the five areas that we focus on. The center has several other areas, but these are the five areas that we focus on. That is cyber-human systems, big data and AI, machine learning, signal processing, neurostimulation, neuromodulation, virtual reality, and augmented reality. We work with a lot of medical centers that are in the region. We also work with a lot of industry collaborators. So my students are directly working with the companies on these projects. So hopefully they will be absorbed by those companies when they graduate. So we'll have to see that. Some of the pictures from these brain meetings. This is from our recent meeting from June. I'm just trying to share some of the pictures. These are some of the world-renowned scientists, also from European Brain Consortium. They were also at UMBC. And it was a really proud moment for all of us. And of course, in addition to our team dance performance, there were also a lot of other um, she's a Grammy performer. Her name is May Rui. She's a neurologist, but also a piano player, musician. She was recording her brain signals and audience. There was one person whom we are recording the brain signals from, and she was able to understand if this person was interested or getting bored when she was playing the piano. Okay, so there's a lot of really, really nice research that is going on at the intersection of course, STEM, but there is also art now. So it is STEAM, STEAM. art is also now added, right? And so if you want to read about these, you can Google stress robot Vinjamuri. There's a lot of news articles out there. We just published our Nature paper, and there's a lot of media attention. Yahoo and a lot of news channels have picked up these articles, so you will see a lot of these. If you just Google Vinjamuri robot, you will get a lot of these news articles. Okay. And so finally, I have to thank my students who did all this fantastic research. There's a lot of high school, undergraduate, graduate students who have done this fantastic research. I'm extremely proud of them, and they are the ones who have carried this research forward. We might have ideas, but these are the people that are actually implementing those ideas. So I'm really extremely grateful. Um, to all my students. And this slide is exclusively undergraduate scholars who have done fabulous research in my lab. I'm very, very grateful to them as well. Also, something that is very personal to me is um, I I cannot do this type of research without my teachers, my gurus. All my degrees are in electrical engineering. My bachelor's, my master's, my PhD, all my degrees are in electrical engineering. And now you see I'm doing extremely interdisciplinary work. How am I able to do that? That is all because of my mentors. Some of them are captured in this picture, and they were the ones who trained me in this interdisciplinary research. Okay. And that's the key going forward. Okay. In this age of AI, you can write a code using ChatGPT and you can use that code to control a robot using ChatGPT, right? So something that cannot be replaced in the near future is if you are interdisciplinary. Okay. If you are combining the fields of physics, chemistry, I'm just making an example, right? And let's say you're using that to control a robot. Okay. So the the more interdisciplinary you are, the less chances are you can be replaced by AI. So something for you guys, okay? And I'm also very grateful to my collaborators who have been helping me a lot with their fascinating research addition components when they're joining me. Um, Lots of thanks to all the funding agencies, especially National Science Foundation. They played a big role in my career and my science. And also USSTEF. This is United States India Science and Technology Endowment Fund. This is the money that students spend for visas. They collect all that money and they pooled it for a good cause. To advance science. Okay. And so for this type of grant, you have to work with Indian faculty or a company. And so for that, I worked with my student, Habib Ali, in robotics, arm robotics. And we cannot do this type of research without the help of medical centers. University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, Hopkins Medical Center, NIDA, National Institute on Drug Abuse, is part of National Institutes of Health. They all help me in doing this type of research. And there's also recent University of Maryland, Baltimore. They have that clinical center, which I'm leading one of the course, also very, very helpful. Um, when you don't get an award, when you get your grant rejected, you're feeling very, very depressed. But at that time, if you get an award, they will cheer you up. And so I'm very grateful. Recently, some awards that I received, they kept me going in my career. Okay. If you're interested in my lab, if you're interested in participating in research in my lab, you can Google Vinjamuri Lab. You'll get to this beautiful looking website that was designed by one of my students' sister, actually. Um, um, and so you can contact me anytime using the contact information that I provided on the website. And of course, feel free to ask me any questions. So I think we're about 1 hour, 10 minutes into the talk.
Yes, sir.
Um, Okay, very good. Okay. And please connect. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I share a lot of what we are doing as in our research. Please connect with me. Happy to be in touch. And hopefully maybe in the future we can do something together.
Yes,
Thank you
dear
so much.
participants, any questions with Dr. Vinjamuri? We're really privileged to have Sir. Sir has a lot of knowledge about this human synergies, different types of synergies that Sir has talked. If anybody has any questions, please ask, because Sir is there with us for 10 more minutes.
Sure.
Yes, anybody, any questions on optical motion tracker, exoskeletons, biomimetic learning, and alphabets of movements, cobots? Anybody?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. This is
Hey,
Sunil.
Dr. Sanil, how are you? Nice
I'm
to see
fine. I'm fine. I think you have blasted this short-term course with your first lecture,
you.
and you have given very good insight about the technology being used for human health, well-being.
Thank you.
So I think participants will learn that how the researchers are doing for good being of human beings, for disables, for person with some disability. Even you have given us focused how the technology is being used for person who are neurally disabled.
Right. Right.
Quite vast research, and I'm glad to be in contact with you from for last 5 years. And I especially thank you for accepting our invitation. And I hope the participants may have gained a lot.
Thank you.
And hope to see you physically next time. Maybe where you are, I will be there, or where I am, you will be there.
Sure, sure. I'm
Okay.
looking forward to. I'm actually coming to India in February. It's a short trip, but again later in
Okay.
June. So
We will be in
June,
contact, sir. We will be in contact,
yeah,
and definitely wherever you
absolutely.
come, I will come to meet you.
Very cool. Yeah, June we have a conference in IIT Mandi. We are all coming there. So Chandigarh, so hopefully close to you guys, and yeah, possible to meet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's very close to me. Okay, okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I would like to ask you myself, Dipali. I would like
Hmm.
to ask you that you said that Indian that Ayurveda is more that is dominating for healthcare that
Psychiatry.
for yeah for
Yeah.
instead of that the that is medicines and all that allopathy
Yeah.
you prefer the Ayurveda. So can you elaborate on that? In what sense you would like to say that?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know if you know this person, Carl Sagan. He said that if there is one undisputable billionaire in philosophy, that is India. Nobody else can beat us in philosophy. And philosophy and psychiatry are very, very closely connected. Um, so I'm not going to go too deep into this because this is related to Indian knowledge systems, right? So in Indian knowledge systems, there is very clear definitions about what is mind, what is intelligence. Very, very clear definition. So mind is the one that will tell you go eat ice cream. Okay. And intelligence is the one that will tell you, no, you have cold, don't eat ice cream. It is bad for you. Okay. So intelligence and mind. So these are the two partners. They have to work together. Okay. And this is all coming from Indian knowledge systems, philosophy. Okay. So using the Indian knowledge systems, we wanted to see if mind or intelligence, if they have physical representations in human brain. Okay. And so we did see some correlates that um, mind is in situated, could be situated in orbitofrontal cortex, which is right behind your eyes. Right behind your eyes is orbitofrontal cortex. And then is prefrontal cortex, which is right here. Okay. Prefrontal cortex is trying to tell you to not eat ice cream. Orbitofrontal cortex is trying to tell you to eat ice cream. Okay. And so, based on Indian knowledge systems, we can actually distinguish between what is mind, what is intelligence. This is They have clear definitions: buddhi, manas. Okay, and also what are different levels of stress? What are different types of stress? What are different triggers of stress? There's a lot of detail about this in Ayurveda, in Indian knowledge systems when you look at psychiatry. And Western medicine doesn't have that type of detail. They have, but they don't have that type of detail. So that's what I was trying to share. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Actually, my research area is the same, that is a psychology of adolescents.
Oh,
So, so
you probably
can
know
I
better
contact you?
than
Sorry.
you probably know better than me then.
No, I'm actually, it is a beginning of my research area, actually, that.
Okay.
Can I connect with you?
Sure,
Because
sure.
yeah. So
Yeah,
on
LinkedIn,
link,
if
okay.
you do QR, yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, anybody else? Yes, dear participants, if anybody wants to talk to Dr. Vinjamuri, we are very privileged to have sir with us. Such a nice lecture was there, very inspiring and very motivating. Such a lot of research sir has done. Anybody wants to ask any question? Sir, I think your lecture was so good that nobody has any doubt about in
Okay.
anything. Really, it was very interesting. I am not from robotic background, but I also could understand everything, every minute detail that you have shared. What you said that if you know 12 alphabets, then you can, do 80% of language. That was very interesting. And decoding of brain signals, that neuma and cyber human systems for mental health, the Shivan, that stress that have you talked about, and different types of synergies and exoskeletons, and really very impressive lecture. So we feel very lucky to have you. We have contacted you for this lecture, and thank you so much that you have agreed while you were already traveling. I was not aware that you are traveling at this point of time, so you could have said no, but you have agreed by in sparing such a precious time from your busy schedule, right? Thank you so much, sir. From
Okay.
core of our heart,
Pleasure.
we feel very blessed. We feel very honored to have you. Very good privilege to have you. Thank you so much, sir. Uh,
Thank you.
uh, Vinjamuri,
Summer.
sir. So we will surely, definitely, whenever we will have another TEL FDP, we will definitely call you, sir.
Of
Thank you,
course,
sir.
my pleasure
Thank
to
you.
come. Thank you. And if you are shy to ask any questions, you can always connect with me on LinkedIn and you can send your messages and you can ask your questions there, or you can email me. Um, my email information was also on the previous slide. rvinjam1@umbc.edu. So you can email me or you can connect via LinkedIn and message me. Um, if you're shy, don't worry about it. That's okay.
So thank you.
Pleasure,
Thanks again, sir.
pleasure
Thank you
meeting and
very much.
interacting with you. Thank you.
So, dear participants, we shall continue our fourth session of day 2 at 7:30. And as our resource person enters the meeting, we shall start with the second session. Sorry. So one more announcement was there, like we will share Google attendance in our chat box right now. After every ending of the every session, we shall be, sharing with you a Google form. Kindly fill it. it will be very helpful for us to mark your attendance. So please fill that Google form. Right from today, we'll be marking your attendance through Google form. Otherwise, some people are joining with different names, so we are not getting who has joined and who has not joined. So with this Google form, we shall be having a very precise information about your attendance. So kindly fill the Google form at the end of every lecture. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, once again. I think our resource person for the second session of day 2 has already joined. Professor Dr. P.M. Pathak, sir. Sir, can you hear me? Welcome, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Kiran. Good evening. कैसे हो आप?
I'm good, sir. So dear participants, so our resource person of second session of day 2 has already joined. So it is an honor for me to introduce Dr. Pushparaj Mani Pathak, Professor highest academic grade in the Department of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering at the Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, India. Dr. Pathak is a distinguished academician and researcher with over 3 decades of experience in engineering education, research and innovation. Sir has completed his B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from NIT Calicut in 1988, followed by an M.Tech in Solid Mechanics and Design from IIT Kanpur in 1998. Sir has earned his PhD degree from IIT Kharagpur in 2005. Before entering academia, Dr. Pathak gained valuable industrial experience from 1989 to 1994, after which he began his academic journey in 1994. Sir has been serving at IIT Roorkee since 2006. Dr. Pathak's areas of expertise include robotics, dynamics, control, and bond graph modeling. Sir has made significant contributions to these fields through his teaching, research, and publications. Sir has also co-authored a widely acclaimed book titled Intelligent Mechatronic Systems, Modeling, Control, and Diagnosis, published by Springer, London. His two popular MOOCs on mechatronics and modeling and simulation of dynamic systems on NPTEL have greatly benefited thousands of learners across the country. Dr. Pathak has supervised 17 PhD scholars and 47 master's theses and has led several national and international research papers in robotics. His research group has secured 4 patents in cyber physical systems and produced over 45 journal papers and 41 international conference papers. He's also the founder of RoboLife Private Limited, startup working in the CPS domain. One of its notable products is a voice-based OPD registration system for hospital patients. Dr. Pathak has been an influential contributor to student innovation, having served as the staff advisor for the robotics section of the Hobbies Club for 7 years. He has also been a judge for the National Robotic Contest Robocon since 2016. Dr. Pathak is an active member of the global research community. He serves at an IFO-MM technical committee for multi-body dynamics and has formerly served as the secretary of the Association for Machines and Mechanisms. So we are greatly privileged to welcome Dr. PM Pathak, a leader in robotics and intelligent systems. And sir, we look forward for your enriching session.
Yeah, thank you, Kiran, for your nice introduction. Yeah, I'm honored to be there among so many participants, almost 175. So, uh, yeah, it will be pleasure for me to give this lecture. When Kiran requested me for this lecture, I was little in dilemma whether I'll be able to make it or not. But yeah, when your student requests something, you have very limited choices to refuse. So yeah, so here I am. The lecture which I'm going to give you today, it is based on a book chapter which we have written long back. So maybe if you all wish, I can share that book chapter with you, maybe uh, at the end of the class. So I have prepared my slides based on that book chapter, which we have written, yeah, some time ago. Okay, so let me share my screen, Kiran.
Yes, sir, definitely. Sir, we have made you co-host. You can share your screen.
Okay. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir, definitely, sir.
Okay. Okay. The topic for my presentation is bionic manipulators in rehabilitation and assistive technologies. As per the theme of this program. So to begin with, as you know, okay, just a minute, my slides, okay. Yeah, so the bionic science actually consists of understanding natural behavior, as the name indicates, right? The bionic science. So we try to understand the natural behavior and we try to reproduce their functioning by exploiting the performance of whatever technology they are in that field and relating it to the robotics and mechatronics. And the main issue in the bionic research is to find out what most adopted technology is going to be there through which we can mimic the nature behavior. So, yeah, coming to the conference theme, loss of limb function due to injury, disease, or any other reason such as a neurological disorder definitely affects the quality of life of the person. And one can go for a rehabilitation or and assistive technologies which try to restore or augment the human motor function. And these bionic manipulators integrates actually following technologies, that is robotics, biomechanics, sensors, and control system. So all these things are basically contributing to the bionic manipulator field. And application range from therapy devices to the advanced prosthetic limb. So therapy devices basically are related with the rehabilitation, and advanced prosthetic limbs are basically related with the assistive technologies. So, what are the bionic manipulator? Okay, so the bionic manipulators are robotic or electromechanical devices that mimic human arm or hand function. Interface with the human body through physical, neural, or bioelectrical connections. And as I told, they are designed for basically three purposes. One is the assistance, that is helping. Then the other one is rehabilitation. And then it's the functional replacement. Uh, just a minute. Sorry, there was an urgent call. So I have to stop this in between. Okay. So, yeah, so I was telling that bionic manipulators are there for assistance. Uh, Assistance means basically giving some part of the help, right? For example, if somebody's some fingers are missing, so that way. Then rehabilitation means if someone has got stroke and the walking gait pattern has got disturbed, so helping in that. And then there could be the functional replacement where we are talking about the prosthetics. Kiran, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible and all the slides are visible. Everything is
Okay,
okay, sir.
okay, thank you. So, yeah, so this is what I have been talking about, the difference between rehabilitation and assistive devices. Rehabilitation devices are used during therapy. As I said, if someone has got the stroke and the person has to be rehabilitated and aim to restore a natural motor function, and for example robotic exoskeleton for stroke recovery. So exoskeletons are basically some sort of suits which the patient is asked to wear, and part of the actuation load is taken by the actuators or motors in that suit. Then we have the assistive devices, which are used with the daily activities, and they compensate for the loss function. For example, the myoelectric prosthetic arms. Okay. Coming to human upper limb biomechanics, if you look at the degrees of freedom, okay, so before I talk about, let me, sorry, let me define the degrees of freedom. So degrees of freedom are basically these are the number of independent coordinates needed to specify the position and orientation of an object. Okay. For example, if you have something, say a rigid body in space, if it is there, so it is going to have the 6 degrees of freedom, because with respect to a coordinate system, we may be needing the three positions. Say if I'm talking about the CG position, so three position and the three orientation. And orientation could be the rotation about the XYZ axis. So rigid body in space has got 6 degrees of freedom. So coming to the human biomechanics, the shoulder has got 3 degrees of freedom, all that of rotation. Elbow may have 1 to 2 degrees of freedom, wrist may have 2 to 3 degrees of freedom, and hand may have 20 plus more degrees of freedom. Now, key challenges here are the redundancy. Redundancy means availability of something more than in excess. If I want to define it in the layman term, okay, so this is what we call it as the redundancy. So, sorry. So suppose an object has got 6 degrees of freedom when the object is there in space. So if I have got a robot with say 7 or 8 actuators, right, or 8 degrees of freedom, then we call the robot as the redundant one. Okay, because ideally speaking, we require 6 degrees of freedom for any object to be placed at any place, and in any orientation in space. Okay, so this is what is redundancy. And dexterity is basically ability to manipulate an object. Okay, and the coordination is the coordination between the different components. For example, we have 5 fingers in a hand. So if you want to grip an object, naturally there has to be a good coordination between the 5 fingers, right? Uh, uh, so that the fingers grip an object at the same time. Uh, if we look at component of a bionic manipulator, so first of all, we need to have a definite mechanical structure, which consists of nothing but links, and these links are joined, connected through joints, and you have actuators which are placed as these joints. So these are the mechanical structure. Then you need a sensing system, sensors. For example, you need position sensors at the joints in order to know how much the joint has rotated. Then you need to have a control system because we want the joint to rotate by a certain degree, by certain angle, and that thing is possible only through a control system. Then you need to have a human machine interface for interaction, and you need to have the power supply and the necessary electronics. Okay. Now, when we are talking about mechanical design of bionic manipulators, naturally the two foremost thing are the lightweight. Lightweight is the actually requirement from the side that the person who are using it, if your manipulator is going to be bulky, okay, more and more effort will be needed by the user. Okay, and many times user may not be comfortable with that. So lightweight, lightweight is our foremost requirement, and the structure should be ergonomic in nature. Okay, and anthropomorphic in design is preferable because we like to see something which are very similar to us. Okay, so if I'm designing, say, a bionic hand, its design should be something like the actual hand of a person. Okay, so that is what we call as the anthropomorphic design. Then we could have the actuation methods where we could use any of these actuators. We may have the electric motors for actuation purpose. We may have the pneumatic actuators, or we may have some cases hydraulic actuators as well, or we may have the series elastic actuators, SEAs. Now, the sensors which are used in bionic manipulators basically are, as I said, the position sensor and velocity sensors, because we need for the control purpose these two sensors. Okay, and say it could be encoders which gives us both these information. Then we may have the force and torque sensor requirement as well. Then we may have the tactile sensor requirement. Force and torque sensors basically related with the gripping. When the object is gripping, how much force the gripper should apply if I'm talking about the bionic hand. Okay, again, here there are two scenarios. These scenarios could be one, if your force is going to be very high, the object which the hand is going to grasp, that object may get crushed. And if the force is not sufficient, the object may get slip from the fingers. Okay, so that is why we need the force and torque sensors actually. Then the tactile sensors to to signal or indicate the sense of touch. Then biosignal sensors, basically these sensors such as EMG or EEG sensors are required in order to detect the intention of the user. Now, if we look at what could be the control strategies, so these could be the position control, where our interest is to control the position. We could have a force or impedance control strategy. In case of force control, we are trying to control the forces. And in impedance control, basically, we are trying to control the impedance, okay, which is a relationship between force and velocity. Or we may try to control the admittance, which is inverse of the impedance. Okay, and we may also have the adaptive and robust control strategy. Okay, for this, or as these days people are talking about AI based and learning based control strategies. So these strategies can be there for the bionic manipulators. Then human-machine interface, we may have the EMG-based control signal. We may have the brain-computer interface, switch and joystick-based control. We could have the shared autonomy, but there are challenges here, and these challenges are noise with the EMG signal. There could be delays in the communication of the signal, and there could be the fatigue in the user due to which, sorry, user may not be motivated to use the device. Yeah. Coming to the bionic manipulator in rehabilitation, it is used for repetitive and task-oriented therapy. Basically, for example, I can give an example. Suppose someone has got a learning disability. Okay, if someone has got learning disability, then naturally we may like the user to learn that. Okay, so for that purpose, we may have we may use the haptic type of robot for the user to get the learning ability. And I can give you a very simple example. Suppose to overcome that learning disability, we want the user to write, say, this alphabet A. Okay, then what we can do is that we can have the haptic robot tip could be placed over here, and the user can be asked to repeat or move the motion of the tip this way many number of times. Okay, and if the user hits the wall of these virtual objects, then certain virtual force could be certain force could be generated, which asks the robot, which asks the user to stick to the boundary of this alphabet. So these type of devices are used for these repetitive and task-oriented therapy. We did some work on this one as well. We have a good publication. Maybe if you are keen, maybe I can share this as well. Now, so improve motor recovery for in the rehabilitation, we are looking at improved motor recovery after the stroke or the spinal cord injury or the traumatic brain injury. So there we can use bionic manipulator for rehabilitation, and we may have some quantitative assessment here how the patient is progressing during this therapy. Okay. If we look for robotic exoskeleton for upper limb rehabilitation, then, as I said, these are wearable robotic devices and provide assistance or resistance. There are many examples such as Armeo, MIT Manas, Revoc upper limb systems. Benefit of robotic rehabilitation basically are that they are high intensity and repeatable training. Objective performance metrics is there, reduced therapist workload, and personalized therapy program could be implemented using the robotic rehabilitation. If we look for the bionic manipulator as a assistive device, then these devices are designed for the long-term daily use. They restore functional independence. And the common forms are basically the prosthetic arm as well as the prosthetic hand, and say assistive robotic arm for the wheelchair. Let us look at a prosthetic bionic arm. I'm going to talk about much more about this in this lecture, but before that, let us have a little brief on this. Sorry. So these prosthetic bionic arms are basically the body-powered prosthesis or myoelectric prosthesis. Hybrid prosthesis could be there, or multi-articulated bionic hands could be there. The myoelectric control of prosthetic, in this case, basically what we do is that we get the EMG signal captured from the residual muscle, and then we process this signal because, as I said, these signals are very noisy basically. So you need to remove the unwanted noise from these signals. So we need to have the signal processing done. And we need to observe certain pattern. We need to recognize the pattern. And then we can map the muscle intent to motion. Okay. So one type of signal basically will tell you what is the intention of the muscle. Okay. Whether it want to open the fingers, close the finger, or grip the object. Okay. So these analysis can be done with the help of the EMG signal. So we can map muscle intent, and the advantage is that of the intuitive control, but the limitations are there with the signal variability, and the other limitation, as I said, with the noise in the EMG signal. What are the various sensory feedback in these bionic manipulators? So these are visual feedback, which are very primary one. We can also have the haptic feedback, basically. Then vibro-tactile feedback or direct neural feedback. Okay, so these could be the various way of the feedback. If we look at the case study for the advanced bionic hand, there are multi-finger dexterous hands, individual finger actuation is there, adaptive grasping is there, and here are some of the examples, limb, bionic hand, and the Luke arm. Yeah, so with this background, I would like to talk about what we did work on that EMG control prosthetic hand, and we developed basically a low cost EMG control system. And this was work of my BTech student Sailab and Sunil along with me, which we carried out some time back. So here we developed a low-cost surface EMG control prosthetic hand and integration of EMG, force, and proximity sensors for the hybrid control. We did the mechanical design using underactuated robotic manipulator concept and designed the complete electronics and control architecture. and use the practical hardware demonstration and results. So the problem statement was prosthetic hand restore manipulation capability to amputees basically, and commercial EMG control prosthetics are extremely costly. So we wanted to have some affordable, accessible biosignal control system, and requirement for hybrid control combining multiple sensor modalities was there. So the key objective was the development of low-cost EMG amplifier and signal conditioning circuitry, develop prosthetic hand mechanical design and kinematics, implement hybrid control using EMG force and proximity sensor, and demonstrate basic manipulation tasks such as grasping and holding, and get the cost-effective bioinstrumentation solution. So this was the architecture basically which we have. We have the EMG signal which we get from the EMG electrodes, and these EMG signal are sent to the EMG amplifier, and EMG amplifier as well as force sensor and proximity sensor, as I discussed, they feed signal to the microcontroller, and microcontroller gives the signal to the actuator, and through which that we get basically the link actuation. Okay, so in the EMG amplifier we get the signal acquisition and conditioning, force sensor, fingertip grasping force feedback. For that purpose we need proximity sensor, basically we need for the object detection, whether it's there in the hand vicinity or not. We used ATmega 32 for the control logic as the microcontroller, and we used the servo motors for the finger actuation as the actuators. Okay. Also, before we go a little more on the topic, let us have some understanding of electromyography or EMG. It's a technique for evaluating and recording the activation signal of muscles during contraction. These muscles generate electrical signal when contracting, and myoelectric signals are formed by physiological variations, and these signals can be measured with electrodes on the skin surface. And as I said, we are using the surface EMG for our actually for getting the signal. There are two types of EMGs. One is the needle EMG and the other is surface EMG. The needle EMG, it's basically invasive method where using electrodes instead into the muscle tissue, inserted into the muscle tissue. And the surface EMG are non-invasive method using electrodes on the skin. So why surface EMG? Surface EMG is mainly preferred by the users because the signal here it's a non-invasive in nature. Non-invasive electrode placement on the skin surface is there. It's safe for long-term use in prosthetic application. Easy electrode preparation and replacement is there. Ideal for biofeedback and real-time control system, and there is cost-effective signal acquisition method is there. What happened? Okay. So if we look at the characteristic of the EMG signal, Its amplitude is usually from 0 to 10 volt, 10 millivolt peak to peak, or 0 to 1.5 millivolt RMS. Frequency range is usually 0 to 500 hertz. Say here 0 to 500 hertz. And it's a stochastic, random nature with Gaussian distribution, and amplitude varies with the muscle contraction force level. And the raw EMG signal basically it's a motor unit, basic neural control unit for the muscle. Motor unit action potential superposition is there. Raw signal unfiltered superposition of all the motor units. Baseline noise in relaxed muscle, so with minimum activity. So but these type of active contraction burst basically you get here, uh, and when you have a rest period you don't have any signal over here, and there are non-reproducible amplitude skies are there. This is the raw EMG recording of 3 contraction bursts of the muscle bicep. Then motor unit definition, if you look at smallest functional unit of a neural control for the muscle contraction, motor neuron cell body and dendrites are there, multiple action branches of motor neurons are there, muscle fiber innervated by action branches, all fiber sets as single unit during contraction. Signal processing, basically in signal processing strategy, we look for the peak, detecting of peak, identify muscle contraction peaks. Then smoothing algorithm using moving average filtering, amplitude parameters, area under rectified curve, then interrupt generator, signal peak, trigger control action for the interrupt generator. So our design basically consisted of, looks like something this. This is the CAD model of one link. And here we have the 3 links basically, and they constitute the finger, and these are your revolute joints over here. So the 3-link finger design connected by the hinge joint here. Links fill at joints for one direction motion. Okay, so that is there. Servo motor driven metallic spoke linkage mechanism is there, as we'll be seeing, and curve design for cylindrical spherical object grasp. Okay, so this is the design which it looks like. This was the one which we developed basically. This is the developed finger. And this figure shows the prosthetic hand structure. 5 actuators, 4 fingers plus thumb. So we use 5 actuators, one for each finger and one for thumb. And under actuated kinematic chain architecture, it's there, as you can see. Links modeled with anthropomorphic dimension. So that way we tried to do it. And we made the wooden prototype for the demonstration purpose. So in this figure, you can see how the actuators are placed basically here. And these are the fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the thumb. And this is how the grasping of the an object was done using the prosthetic hand. Sorry. So here are some of the link mechanical properties: link mass, length, and inertia values based on the human hand anatomy. So link 1, 2, 3, 24 gram, 13 gram, 6 gram. These are the length and these are the inertias. We did mathematical modeling for that using DS notation for the kinematics, and we applied Newton-Euler approach for the dynamic calculation, and I used the MATLAB robotic toolbox for the simulation purpose, and the inverse dynamics for the torque computation or for the need of the actuators. I'm not going to talk about much about all these mathematics here. You may have a look at our book chapter for this. Then we from the torque inverse dynamic for torque computation, from this one we go for the actuator selection. You selected servo motor HS55 micro light servo, whose weight is of around 8 gram, so lightweight. Torque is around 0.1 Newton meter, sufficient for hand dynamics, and it has got built-in control circuitry and the position feedback. The electronics architecture basically consisted of something like this. So you have the EMG electrode. We amplify the signal, use the comparator. Then we have the pressure sensor, amplification done, analog to digital conversion is done. Similarly, you have proximity sensor, comparator, and all this information is fed to your microcontroller, which was at Mega 32. And then we decide on the actuators, that is the servo motor. So this is how the signal flow takes place. As I said, principally we are concerned about three things: EMG electrode, pressure sensor, and the proximity sensor. And these are information are fed to the ATmega 32 microcontroller, and that gives you the actuator torque. Okay, so EMG electrode and signal amplification stage, force sensor and signal conditioning, proximity sensor with modulation, demodulation, at Mega 32 microcontroller, a central control unit, and the servo motor driver and the power supply. So this is how you can see that EMG electrode are put into to capture the intention, basically. Okay, as I discussed. So these are how these electrodes are put into in order to get the EMG signal. So these EMG amplification are pre-amplification stage with gain control. We use 50 Hz noise filter to remove power line interference. Used a band pass filter in order to get this range for the signal isolation. Final amplification to measure measurable voltage level, and comparator for peak detection and interrupt generation. So these were the specifications for the amplifier, the frequency range 20 to 500 Hertz, then noise filtering, gain, output range, and all. And these were the EMG signal for flexor carpi radialis in the closed hand position. And this is EMG signal for flexor carpi radii in the open hand position. So these are how the EMG signal look like. Then we used instrument AD620 instrumentation amplifier, differential amplifier for noise rejection, and configurable gain with external register, low DC offset. So this is how basically instrumentation amplifier goes to a nose filter. Then we have pre-amplification, low pass filtering, high pass filtering, and then the amplification. So these are the gain equation. Some of the normal stuff for that. These are the details for the nose filtering, band stop filter with narrow password, AC power line interference, central frequency. Then we did the band pass filtering. Again, these things are for the processing of the EMG signal. Low pass filter, high pass filter we used, then pass band filter we used, series configuration for complementary filters. Electrode application, EEG electrode used because of high conductivity, adhesive skin preparation, clean with alcohol and water, then remove excess hair for the better adhesion and the placement on the muscle of interest. So then this were how we placed the flexi force sensor actually to identify the force, the gripping force over here. So it's a semiconductor type flexi force sensor. As you can see, this is that item. So force sensitive resistor on each fingertip we placed. Resistance decreases as the applied decreases with the applied force. Thin and flexible design for finger integration is there. Silver conductive lead and male square pins were used. For sensor operation, unloaded state had the very high resistance, loaded state resistance decreases proportionally. Output voltage read through the amplification circuit, and we calibrated for 1 to 5 kilogram load testing. So these were the sensor calibration result, the practical voltage output versus the force applied. Then, as I said, we used the infrared proximity sensor for the obstacle detection for object presence awareness, infrared LED emitter, and then use the receiver for demodulated signal, and it was mounted at the center of the palm. Then sensor detection architecture, automated gain control amplifier, band pass filter, demodulator circuit, as well as adjustable detection range. Then AICTE-32 microcontroller, it's basically 8-bit AVR CMOS AVR architecture microcontroller, 32 KB in system programmable flash memory. It has 32 input output lines for peripheral connectivity, and there is no power consumption as well as cost effective is there. So these are some of the features of AICTE-32 10-bit analog to digital converter. It has there 8 multiplex single-ended input channels are there. Then external interrupt pins are there. Multiple timer channel for the PWM generation, that is pulse width modulation generation is there. Okay, then external interrupt signals were used through these pins, interrupt 2 pins, that is 0 and 1. For sensor interrupt triggering, rising falling edge or high level triggered operation, real-time response control, wake up capability from the sleep mode it has. These are for the analog to digital converter feature, 10-bit resolution, up to 10 kilo sample per second maximum, 8-channel analog input multiplexer, as well as internal voltage reference option was there. Then we have the timer module configuration, phase and frequency correct PWM mode, 16 megahertz crystal oscillator we used, then programmable pre-scale time overflow mode for servo control was there. Then PWM servo control for the actuator we used 50 Hz PWM signal with 20 millisecond period, pulse width 1 to 2 millisecond. Okay, and 180-degree rotation range per servo motor. And this is how we calculated the PWM. It's a normal stuff. Then the system control flow, EMG signal, also interrupt 1, interrupt pin we use, proximity signal, interrupt 0 pin we use. Then for the force signal, microcontroller processes all input, output PWM to servo motor was there via the port P. So here is the control logic. Basically, as I said, EMG amplifier, comparator interrupt through interrupt pin 1. Then you have the force sensor through ADC 0 to 4. You have this is the microcontroller. Then you have the proximity sensor interrupt through 0 and actuation of hand through servo motor through the port P port. It monitor EMG sensor output continuously, detect peak in the EMG signal. If no peak is detected, it keeps on checking. And if peak is detected, it proceeds for the next one. So this is the algorithm for control of the prosthetic hand, basically. So yeah, so for example, if object is detected, yes, then perform closing of the hand and check force sensor data. It goes to the force data above a specified value. If it is there, yes, stop actuation and task complete. And if it no is there, then the loop is repeated. For object detection, if object is not there, then perform slowly half closing and opening of the palm. Then again, EMG sensor output. If a peak is detected, yes, then it goes for the proximity sensor. Otherwise, it checks again. So this is how we try to integrate basically the EMG, the force, as well as the proximity, the three sensors. Proximity detection logic, basically check proximity sensor for object presence. If no object, perform slow half open or close motion. If object is detected, proceed to the full grasp and monitor force sensor during the grasping. The force feedback control, monitor the force sensor reading during the grasp. If force is below threshold value, continue the grasping, and if force exceeds threshold, stop the actuation. If the task is completed, the hand maintains the grip. So this is what I was telling you. This is what we do is in case of the force feedback, basically. Then we have the hybrid sensing strategy. EMG signal basically tells the intent of the user, user intent signal. So it initiates action. Then proximity gives the object awareness, confirm grasp feasibility. Force, grip safety control, prevent damages, and the combined one, intelligent manipulation with the feedback. So for EMG peak detection, what we do is the comparator generates a digital pulse at the peak detection. Potentiometer adjusts the comparison threshold and tunable sensitivity for the different user, and edge detection triggers a microcontroller interrupt. So this is how the whole implementation has been shown over here, where you are shown with the actuators, you have the fingers, yeah, and these are the two arms basically, and you have the microcontroller at Mega over here. So we developed a wooden prototype construction for the demonstration purpose. 5 servo motors for 4 fingers and the thumb were used. 4 sensor integrated at the finger tip and the proximity sensor mounted at the palm center. So this is a low cost design approach. We just wanted to demonstrate the technology. So we use the wooden structure, which is cost effective, commercial, off-the-shelf sensor and components are there. Simple servo motor actuation, no expensive motors. and custom bioamplifier design, expensive commercial versus expensive commercial unit. We did testing and validation. So EMG signal acquisition and amplification testing was done. Mechanical design verification was done through kinematics. Sensor calibration and response characterization was done. Control algorithm validation with the real signal was done. Demonstration capabilities, cylindrical object grasping, we demonstrated with cans and the bottles. Spherical object grasping handles, we demonstrated with balls. Controllable grip force via the sensor feedback, we demonstrated. And safe object release and manipulation were demonstrated. So the real world EMG observations are there. The flexor carpi radialis muscle in the forearm was tested. Open hand position, higher EMG potential, and the closed hand position, the lower EMG potential is there. Clear contraction signal is distinguishable from the baseline. Amplifier design benefits low cost alternative to commercial EMG system, compact and portable design, convenient onboard signal processing, and there is high gain with the noise reduction. Design challenges addresses the weak signal amplification without noise amplification. So these are some of the challenges. Eliminating EMI and power line interference, torque calculation for lightweight actuator, real-time signal processing on a microcontroller, complete signal processing chain, electrode placement on the residual limb, bioamplifier conditioning and filtering, comparator peak detection, microcontroller interrupt and processing, servo motor actuator response. System has got advantage because it's a non-invasive because we are using the surface electrodes basically. So we are not punching the tissues or the surface of the skin. So non-invasive surface electrode approach, cost-effective bioinstrumentation design, multimodal sensory feedback. As I said, we are using the 3 types of feedback, AMG, force, as well as the proximity, and the real-time adaptive control capabilities are there. There are certain limitations of the current prototype also, and these limitations are that the wooden rigid construction is there, prototype demonstration, limited to basic manipulation task was there. Single channel EMG control is scalable to multiple channel is that is the possibility, and require user training for the optimal control. We can carry out some material enhancement. We can use the flexible material, polyvinyl chloride. This can be done. Then further improvement could be there. We could use the compliant fingers rather than the rigid finger for the safer object interaction. We could have the better weight distribution and comfort. So again, this can be there. Then we could have the improved grip conformability to the different object shapes. We could use advanced control strategies, multi-channel EMG for final motion control, machine learning for intent recognition. So these are some of the future things which we can do to improve upon. Adaptive algorithm based on user adoption and force feedback to the user. We could carry out the actuator advancement also, variable torque servo motor for dexterity, distance-based force modulation at different lever arms, compliant actuator for safe human-robot interaction, lighter weight motor for the reduced fatigue. Then we can make it naturalness. We can increase the degrees of freedom for natural hand posture, sensory feedback for embodiment perception, size and weight matching a human hand. We can have the exact weight and size matching. Then cosmetic appearance for the social acceptance. Therapeutic use cases, we could have upper limb rehabilitation post-stroke, motor learning and neural plasticity training, daily living activity assistance, occupational therapy support and feedback. These comes under therapeutic use cases. Then we could have the medical applications, basically as a assistive device, amputation, rehabilitation and prosthetic control, neuromuscular disease support and peripheral nerve injury recovery. We could see that yes, with our this device, we could reduce the cost effectively. So it's very cheap as compared to the commercial prosthetic. Scalable production for developing nation could be there. Customizable design for individual anatomy as per the individual requirement, and a broader population for access to assistive technology. If we look at how this product is competitive as compared to the commercially available prosthetics, so it has got low cost, comparable EMG signal processing, open source design for further development, and educational value and research platform. EMG amplifier gain and frequency response could be look into for the performance evaluation, force sensor accuracy and calibration, response latency of the control system, as well as graph success rate and manipulation quality. We could look at the noise reduction effectiveness. Okay. Nose filter eliminates this power interference, then band pass filter removes out of the band noise. A reliable signal detection for the realistic environment is there. Then usability and learning curve, intuitive EMG based control interface is this one. Natural mapping between muscle contraction and action. Biofeedback for user learning and adoption. Configurable sensitivity for the different skill level. We could have replaceable electrodes and sensors for the long-term sustainability. Servo motor lifespan and reliability we can look at. Modular design for component upgrades and the low maintenance requirement. We could also have some safety design features as it is there in any of the product which the human is using. Say force sensor limits prevent crushing damage. We could provide some force sensor limits so that the fingers doesn't crush any object. Fail safe could be there, which means that hands open up if control signal is lost. Okay. If it is not getting any signal, then naturally it should open up. Non-invasive electrode placement could be there, skin contact only. Biocompatible material for the skin interface could be there. So here are some of the key achievements through this work which we had. A functional low-cost EMG control prosthetic hand demonstrated hybrid sensing for intelligent manipulation, which comprises of EMG sensor, force sensor, as well as the proximity sensor. And it provided a cost-effective bioinstrumentation and established a foundation for the further research and the development. Challenges in bionic manipulator development, of course, are there the high cost, limited battery life, because these prosthetics are to be carried by the arm. So naturally, we don't want any external power source. So the battery has to be there. The weight of the battery has to be included along with the prosthetic arm. So the limited battery life is a challenge. Then control complexity, that is also a challenge. Then whoever is using, he or she need to be properly trained for that. And the comfort and long-term wearability has to be looked into. There are some ethical and social considerations also. Since it's a medical device, it has to pass through certain regulation. Also, safety standard consideration, it has to go through. Biocompatibility of material and electrodes has to be looked into. One need to take the consent from the user and follow the ethical use protocols. And whatever biometric signal data are there, that has to be preserved properly so that there is no privacy violation of anyone. It has to be accessible as well as affordable. Yeah. So if we look at what recent trends are going on in this direction, so soft robotics is replacing many of the things in the robotic community. So we can look for, say, the soft gripper basically. We can try to integrate AI and machine learning, of course, with processing the EMG signal, neural interfaces and implants could be there. We could have the digital twins for the rehabilitation, and we could have the personalized bionic systems. Future, if you look at a scalable prosthetic solution for the developing nation, integration with the AI for the advanced control strategy, multi-limb coordination for the upper body assistance, uh, democratization of the assistive robotic technology. It should not be accessible to only rich. Uh, it should be accessible to all. And there should be seamless human-robot integration, improved sensory feedback, greater autonomy, and we need to have the widespread clinical and home use. Okay, so to summarize, bionic manipulators plays a vital role in rehabilitation and assistive technologies. We combine robotics, biomechanics, sensing and control, and it has got significant potential to improve the quality of the life. And there are various researchers who are working on this one in order to overcome the current limitations, some of which I have listed out. So with this, I would like to close. Thank you all for your patient hearing. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Dear participants, if you have any questions or queries, or if you want to talk to Professor Pathak, you can talk. If you have any thing in your mind regarding this bionic manipulator, you want to ask any questions. So, sir is here with us right now. So thank you very much, sir. First of all, for agreeing at the nick of the time, while we know that you were also traveling at the same time, and you have agreed for our these participants. So most of the participants are from various parts of India. About 50% participants are from the southern part of India. So we are also grateful to our participants. And sir, we are so much grateful to you that you have joined us and you have very minutely briefed about bionic manipulators. You have discussed the degree of freedom, mechanical design, sensor, prosthetic bionic arms, and electromyography, signals, determination of flexi-force, everything you have, uh, told us in a very minute, detailed form. And what are the challenges that you have faced, what actuators, sensors, what things that you have used. You have clearly mentioned each and everything and the future scope and what kind of these soft robotics can be used in further studies. They are very, I think they will be definitely very, very helpful to the participants who have joined us from various parts of India. So, sir, thank you very much from our participant side and for our organizing team. We are very much privileged that you are with us and you have spared your very precious time for us and you have briefed us with this bionic manipulators. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Kiran. I have in the chat box, I have shared our book chapter,
Right, sir.
which formed the basis for my lecture today. Okay, so those who are interested, they can look into that.
Right, sir.
And,
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank
Good evening, sir. Yes, dear participants, kindly fill the Google form for attendance for this session of day 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
So please do not forget to fill the Google form of attendance. Thank you very much, dear participants.
Ma'am, kindly also share this Google form in the group, WhatsApp group.
Sir, actually, it's not beneficial in the WhatsApp group. It's beneficial here. Like
Okay,
here
fine,
we got
fine.
to, yeah. Thank you,
Otherwise,
sir.
sir,
Thank you.
anyone can mark in WhatsApp group, na?
Okay, fine,
So the
fine, fine,
participants
fine.
who are not joining in the session, they will also mark the
I
attendance
understand.
if we
Okay,
put
done,
the
done.
link in WhatsApp group.
That's true. Okay, ji.
Thank you, Vivek, sir. Thank you.
Okay, ji. Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, can we leave the meet, ma'am?
Definitely, ma'am. You can leave the meet, but please do
Thank
not
you.
forget to fill the Google form.
Yeah, ma'am, filled in.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
can
so
leave.
much, ma'am.
You
Thank
can
you, ma'am.
leave. The session is over. You can leave, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Everyone can leave.